So we are learning the last new material today. There's some things I cut on here, so sorry. This is my turn to talk. You guys, thank you. Like this whole side of the room is all looking at me, waiting for me. I know there's people over here too, but thank you. It's nice to look up and see you all paying attention. Okay, so guys, some of this is a little challenging, and I'm going to reteach you how to use the graphing calculators to graph, which is super, super nice, okay? It just makes your life so much easier. We did it yesterday. We're going to do it again today, okay? So today we finish up learning anything new, and I have a worksheet as your homework, so I'll pass those out to you in a moment. And then we have our test review tomorrow, and then our test on Friday. First test, okay? So everyone needs to be paying attention. You shouldn't be on your phone. You shouldn't be sleeping. You shouldn't be doing stuff for another class. Please, please, please pay attention. So I want to remind you of what we learned yesterday. You guys did fabulous with it. You guys did amazing, okay? Because it's lunch, guys, tardies still count, though. You got to get to class on time. And remember, can't skip this class either. And if you miss the class, it is your responsibility. Guys, listen. It is your responsibility to go on Canvas. I record every day. I only get one shot. You're my only one, like I'm recording right now. So 99% of the time, there's going to be a video of what we did and the lesson and the notes and everything. Also the homework key, okay? So use use Canvas, guys, all the stuff I provide for you to review if you need to go back and go over something, or if you're absent, or, you know, whatever the reason may be, okay? All right, so let's get started. Oh, here, Isaiah. Sarah, did you get the notes? Okay, so yesterday you guys did an amazing job, like really, really good, of learning how to do the H and the K. Remember, left or right was opposite, K was up or down. That's going to be part of the review today, too, part of what we do. There's one last letter or number that we have to add into it, and that's the A value. And if you just look ahead, A is like the number that comes after the equal sign, okay? So whenever your A value is greater than 1, and what does this mean? Absolute value, and it's always positive. So no matter what A is, positive or negative, we only look at it as if it's positive. That's what that's saying. So if your A value is greater than 1, we call it this, a vertical stretch, and I'll explain it. When you stretch a graph, what happens to it is, so we go from a parent function, like for example, that looks like this, just like a regular V, it actually makes it narrower. So if I could take my hands and grab the endpoints of that V, if I could grab those arrows, and if I stretched it up, it would make it narrower, okay? So, and it makes it narrow. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm making it a word. Narrower or more narrow, okay? If it's less than 1, it's called a vertical compression or shrink. Vertical, meaning up and down. Compression is like the technical word, but it's a lot more letters. So a lot of times I'll just write shrink. They mean the same thing of the graph. And it makes it fatter. Wider, is that a nicer word? Okay, wider. Again, if I could grab those arrows, and remember, stretching it, pulling it up makes it like more narrow, skinnier, for lack of a better word. A compression, think about if I push down on those arrows, it makes it wider, okay? It happens naturally when you do it in your graphing calculator, but you'll see the difference in how wide or narrow the graph is, okay? Also, oh, we can cross this one out too. I got rid of all of those. Okay, so a negative in front of the A. So if these A's are negative, remember, we only look at the absolute value when we're talking about the stretch or the compression. But if it's negative, it reflects over the x-axis. What's another word for reflect? Like a common word that we just use. Flip, like it just flips it. So if you have a V going like this, a negative just takes all the points and flips them into the bottom quadrant. Okay, so you can just call this or flip. Why is there so much talking, guys? Come on. Shh. There is no reason for you guys to be talking. Okay, so let's put it into play. Let's see what happens with these. Now I'm going to remind you how to do these in the graphing calculator, because if not, it's a lot of work, okay? It can be done, but I'm letting you use these wonderful tools, so you probably want to do it. So what we're going to do is turn our calculators on. Everyone should pick it up. Don't just watch me. Even though you understand when I say press the 2, you all understand what I mean. But it takes practice, muscle memory, to remember where the buttons are, okay? When it comes time for the test, I'm not going to sit there and help you with your calculators. The kinds of things I'd help you with your calculators if you can't get out of a screen, something looks weird, but I'm not going to go over with you how to graph on Friday. So today and tomorrow you need to learn how. Otherwise you just do it by hand, okay? So here's the thing. Go up to your y equals. This is just a review of what we did yesterday. And if there's something already there, probably is, you can just hit clear and you'll get a blank cursor just waiting for you. And let's type this in exactly like we see it. 2 parentheses, x minus 4, close the parentheses, to the power of 2. Remember, we've talked about this several times. Some of our calculators are like mine, where the cursor stays up in the air. If yours is doing that, you just have to remember to hit your right arrow to bring it down. If your 2 is not up in the air, that's okay. Your calculator doesn't do it that way. You don't have to worry about that. But I need to bring my cursor back down. So some of us have that going on. No big deal. And then plus 1. Right? Next to the alpha button, right here.
I got it.
Okay, great. All right, and then let's see what it looks like, okay? Before I even hit enter, I know it's going to be that curvy graph. Remember, it looks like a V, but just curvy. So the absolute values look like that, and then the ones that are the parentheses squared are curvy. And so you'll see that here. Oh, I forgot. I have to change something on my graph. Give me a second. I just played with it last period with my pre-calc kids. Okay, let me just type it real quick again. 2 parentheses, x minus 4 parentheses, exponent squared plus 1. Got it? Yes. Okay. So your graph should look something like that. Yes? Okay. Think about what happened there. Our parent function started at 0, 0. It was right through the origin, and it went to the right 4 up 1. Remember we learned that yesterday? Now the 2 is harder to see, but I will tell you, since our a value is greater than 1, right? 2 is greater than 1, it stretched it. It made it narrower than the parent function, okay? So here's how we're going to graph it. Here we go. You're going to go to table. So you want the table. So second, because it's in blue, anything in blue, you have to hit your second button. And then tables right up here. And this is giving you an XY chart of the highest degree, because it goes on forever and ever in both directions. You know how I make you guys make an XY chart and pick some numbers? They're all done for you right here. So you have to think, okay, what am I going to, where do I want to go with this? At what points do I want to look at? This is really important, guys. If you learn this, and it's not hard, you are going to be able to use this on the SAT, the ACT, on my test. It makes graphing so easy. Look at this. I already said, like, if I go back to the graph, you can see where the vertex is. It's to the right 4 up 1. You might not even know that part. You could look at it here. Maybe that's not making a connection. But I think you guys can admit that these are positive x values, at least, if you can just think of that. So when you go to your table, you want to go into your positive x values, which is where I happen to be right now. I could go up and get into the negatives. You could hit that button forever. Don't do it. I know you want to. And it'll keep going in both directions forever and ever and ever. It will never stop because these graphs go on forever. But look for where your vertex might be, and you can see where it is really easily if you know what to look for. See the 4, 1 right there? And look how the y values on either side are exactly the same. 3 and 3, 9 and 9, 19 and 19. That's because, remember, after the vertex, everything on the right side is the same as the left. So we just found our vertex, which is 4, 1. You also could have seen it right here. Remember, opposite, not opposite. We learned that yesterday. So the right 4 up 1 that we move our graph is your vertex. And to get credit on the test, pick two numbers. You can either do 5 and 6 or 3 and 2, but you don't even have to plug them in like we did before. You can just grab it right out of here. Maybe I'll just do 5 and 6 since that I'm looking right at 5 and 6. So at 5, I got 3, or the calculator did for me, and at 6, I'm at 9. Right? It is so easy. But you have to see it, so don't be thrown off if you aren't seeing it and you're like, why? Oh, they think it's easy, I didn't get it. Okay. Why only 2? Anybody know? Why only 2? It's going to keep going, and we could do a whole bunch. I just require 2. It's just my choice. Why those 2? Why those 2? Why didn't I pick 17 and 23? Because they're far away. You could. Why would you, though? Because then you're stuck graphing to the right 17, 9. So wherever this point is, you're going to pick either 5 and 6 or 3 and 2. It doesn't matter because they're the same numbers. And we have everything we need now to graph. So to the right 4, up 1. There's my vertex. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, right? And sometimes we go off the graph. We are not stressing about that at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And where's 9? It's somewhere up in those words. I don't care. It's not a perfect science, especially when the numbers go off the graph, okay? We have an axis of symmetry that goes right through the vertex. Why is that important? Because then you can reflect right over the x-axis. If there's a point to the right of it, you can reflect right over the axis of symmetry. We have a point 1 to the right. We also have 1 to the left. Okay? Way up here, there's 1 to the right, roughly 1 to the left. And then this will be a curvy graph, not straight. Try to curve it. The more narrow it is, the harder it is. But you don't want it to look like the absolute value graph. Although the graphing is exactly the same. All the steps are the same. Okay? I'm going to graph this one with you, and then we'll talk about the domain and range of both of these. Okay, so here we have another one. Immediately, I should see that that negative is going to flip it over the x-axis. It's going to be a stretch of 5. I'm going left to all those things. But let's see what it looks like on our calculator. So go back up to y equals, and just hit clear. You can hit clear, and it goes away. Bye-bye. And let's type this in. Oh my gosh, I have to remember how to put absolute value in here. Let me find it. I haven't done it in a really long time. Okay. So we have the -5. Now, the one we did a second ago had parentheses. So those are right there. Absolute value symbols, there's none on there. Okay? So we have to go to a special place to find them. So where we go is, everybody pay attention, math. So hit your math button. And it gives you a bunch of menus across the top. Right now we're in math. Right now, just use your arrow button and go to number. And if you hit 1, just number 1, that's absolute value. Now, the calculator can't make a straight line like that. It's showing it as a parentheses, but we're programming the calculator to actually make, oh, it did make an absolute value symbol. Nice. There we go. And then just type that in. X plus 2. You guys want me to show you again? Okay, so I'm going to clear. So I'm at, let me clear the whole thing. Okay, so I'm at, y equals, right? And I have a negative and a 5. And then I want absolute value symbols. So I go to, here we go again, math, right here, math, arrow over to num, and it's the first one. You can either arrow to it or just hit enter. I just hit enter, and it puts the absolute value symbol right on your screen. So math over 1, enter. It doesn't do that? Okay, type that in, finish typing it. I'm going to go check on those two peoples, and then hit graph and see what you get. Oh, look, it opens down. Some of these are, even though they look alike, especially the yellow ones, listen. And I apologize. hers, and I'm guessing this is what yours does, it said ABS instead. It just said absolute value. So I need to update these, but it still works. She got the same graph. Let me say this. Okay, let me tell you guys something about these graphing calculators. Shh, I'm about to fix all your problems. And I will keep reminding you of this. There is something we can do on these calculators that we sometimes need to do. So write this on your paper somewhere. We're going to clear the RAM. What the clearing of the RAM does, now I have to tell you, my pre-calc students are doing really complicated stuff with their graphs, and they've changed windows and all kinds of stuff. Right? We do lots of crazy things with our graphs. So they change the settings in here. They get deep in there and change a bunch of stuff, and that can affect our work. So what I just did with Aaron, right, is I cleared his RAM, and it was like giving him a blank piece of paper. So I want everyone to practice this. It seems like a lot of steps, but it's really not, I promise you. And I'll keep reminding you to do this, because I've taught my pre-calc kids to clear the RAM every time they pick up the calculator, and that's a good idea for us to do too. So you're going to, let me write the steps. So it's 5 buttons, but right in a row, okay? So I just go second plus 7, 1, 2. Notice I didn't even stop. And you should just see RAM cleared. Now, any of you that had an error, try it again, and it should work, okay? Just means there was some weird setting in there that someone had changed that gave you a hard time, right? So second plus 7, 1, 2. After about 5 times of doing it the next few weeks, I'll keep reminding you. You'll have it memorized. And it's just anytime you're thinking something's not right in your calculator, it's a great thing to do. So some of my non-graph people, did it work? Oh, still doing it? Let me know. So let's identify the vertex. And to do that, now I got to go back and put it in. Did it work? Okay. Okay. Well, look on with someone for now, and then I'll fix it. Okay, so we have it in our calculator. We hit graph. Okay, so where's my vertex? It's over in the negatives on the x-axis. So that's just going to help me know where to go on my table. So, guys, look. So these are the positives. If I just take my arrow button and go backwards, I can find that vertex. Do you see it? Immediately. Negative 2, 0. Because you can see where the numbers start being the same on either side. Okay? Did it work that time for you when you said, yay, great, good, good. Okay, so negative 2, 0 is our vertex. And the same as we did on this last one, pick 2 numbers on either side of negative 2. On the same side. So like negative 1 and 0 would be fine, or negative 3 and negative 4. It doesn't matter. They're the same numbers. And you don't have to plug in. You get to grab them right from the table. This is why you want to learn how to do this. And now we have everything we need to make the entire graph. Okay, that seemed like a long time because we had to stop for the fixing the calculators. But you'll see when we get to the homework in a few minutes, it's really, really no big deal. Okay, it just takes a little practice. So negative 2, 0 is my vertex. And then I have negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5. And I'm not even going to bother with that other point. It's way down here. I have an axis of symmetry. And on the test, I made sure there were nice points. Axis of symmetry right there. You can see how narrow it is because 5 is a pretty big number. And these are the straight line ones. Remember how I told you how you can know that? Just by looking at the equations. Is the absolute value symbols are straight. They make straight lines when you graph them. The x squareds have parentheses which are curvy, and that makes your graph curvy. But all the graphing is the same exact thing, okay? That's the only difference between the two. Even with the domain and range, I mean, is it It is Go, but you're going to miss stuff. Okay. So, guys, the domain of both of these is all real numbers. Okay, both of them. This one and this one. All of them. Whether they open up or down, they're always all real numbers. Because as we go up or as we go down, we get wider. All right. The range is the harder one. Range is your Y value. So this is a review. We've already talked about this. This graph starts at 1 and goes up forever. Starts at 1 and goes up forever. And remember, we put a bracket on the number, parentheses on, you always use parentheses on infinity symbols. Okay? On this one, and remember, whenever you name your domain and range, you have to do least to greatest. So 1 is smaller than infinity. But with the range, remember when they open down, you guys did really well on the last quiz, doing these right. We would start at the bottom. What are those arrows pointing towards? Negative infinity, right? Always use parentheses on an infinity symbol. That's what we're pointing to. And what's the last Y value we're going to use? 0. Very good. And we'll put a bracket on that. So we'll practice more of these. Okay. I'm going to practice these with you in a second. Let me just show you, I think, let me just show you. Nope, we'll go right to the homework. We'll just do extra problems on the homework, okay? Let me give you the worksheet that you can skip the other side of this. Let's just go right to doing homework together. Okay. Graphs are already on here. I pulled them here for you. You're welcome. We do not sit on our phone time. We can wait for some homework an hour to have our homework.
How many exercises are going to for homework?
What?
How many exercises are going to 1 through 6?
I'm going to start. Guys, start number 1. You can start taking your calculator and I will be doing it. That's that class. Okay, Kingston. Okay. Is it the most recent one?
Oh, yeah, the one on Friday.
Okay, so let me help you guys get started. All right. So this is why you want to be good at putting these in your calculator. The more you do this, the easier it's going to be. So -2 math over to number, absolute value, and then type in x plus 2. How do you think I get out of the absolute value symbol? This arrow. Yeah, I just moved my cursor, and then I put plus 2. All going to be done for me. Graph it. Graphing it just kind of gives me an idea of where I want to find where I want to look in my table for my vertex. I'm over in the negative x's. So when I go to second table, I would see, okay, I can see it immediately. well, wait, let me see. Yeah, negative 2, 2. Because then if you look, it goes 0, 0 on either side. Negative 2, negative 2. Negative 4, negative 4. Okay? So my vertex is the one that stands out in the middle, right? So that's, what is that? Is that negative 3, 0? No. Sorry. Negative 2, 2. Sorry. That's the one in the middle, right? And then pick 2 values. That's all you need. On either side, like negative 1 and 0. And that's it. That's all you need to graph. So vertex, negative 2, 2. So that's right there. Remember, you always go back to 0, 0 to graph. Negative 1, 0 here. 0, negative 2 here. Remember, this is going to be the straight line one. We have an axis of symmetry that goes right down the middle. And remember, the axis of symmetry helps us reflect right over. 2 to the left, 2 to the right, and we make straight lines. Now, we are going to have to, on the test, and we'll practice it tomorrow on the review, we are going to need all of this, but I'd rather you just practice graphing right now. I'll just do this one with you to remind you. So on the other graphs, if you just want to do the vertex and the XY chart, I'm fine with it. If you want to practice getting the rest of this, I'll have it on the key, all right? So let's remind ourselves, X equals what? What is my AOS? Negative 2. It's always this first number, but you can also see it on the graph. Domain is all real numbers, right? You can use that little R-looking symbol or negative infinity to infinity. Either way, that's the same thing. And then the range, negative infinity, all the way up to 2. Okay? So if you want to save yourself a little bit of time, don't do that part today if you don't want to. Okay, let's do, listen, we did 1 together. Let's do 2 and 3 as part of our homework, okay? If you want more to practice, you can do 4, 5, and 6. I won't make you do it, okay? We have a whole day of reviewing all of this tomorrow, too, so we have lots to do. This is narrow. Okay, so we're just doing 1 through 3 on this side, all right? And then I need to do some of these on the back. All that's left on the back are 9, 10, 13, 14. So 9, 10, 13, 14, which are all the ones that are not circled or not crossed out on the back. Okay, so listen, I want you guys to pause right now on doing 2 and 3. Okay, because I'm going to do one of each type on the back with you, which I didn't do in the notes. So shame on me, but here I'm going to do homework with you instead. So I'm going to do 9 and 13 with you. That leaves you one of each of them to do on your own. So I would do this with me or you're going to be lost, I think. All this is asking us to do is describe what's happening. So dilation just means the stretch or the compression. Remember we talked about yesterday, transformation is the blanket term for all movements done. Then we did translations, which were shifting. Don't get hung up on the words. I'm not giving you a vocab quiz on this, okay? But this is huge, super important. There are 2 things going on there. There's a negative and there's a 2/3. I want to remind you that when we do the stretch and shrink, it's the number that comes right after the equal sign. It's always got the opposite value symbol, so it's always positive. So just describe in words. We have a vertical. Is that going to be a compression or is that going to be a stretch? Compression. It's less than 1. So shrink is an easier word to the right. So it's a shrink because this number is less than 1. It's a vertical shrink by 2/3. What did I not write with the 2/3? The negative. Not allowed to have a negative. Okay? You're allowed to have negative, but not when you talk about a shrink or a stretch. This should always be positive. There is a negative there, we can't ignore it. that's going to be you can say reflect or flip over x-axis. That's it. That's all you're doing for those, being able to say in words what is going on there. Actually, I don't even like 14. You can cross 14 out. I didn't put it on the test, so let's shorten that too. Let's do 13 though. This is where you're given it in words, and you have to put all the information into the equation and then graph it. So this is the hardest type. I'm doing the only one with you, so hopefully you're doing this with me as well. So we're going to take f of x. So this is the parent function. It's that x squared. And we're going to do all this stuff to it and call it g of x. So g of x equals, okay? Now, reflected, what does that mean? It means we're going to have a negative unit. Our a value will be negative. That's the reflected in the x-axis. That's a flip over the x-axis. That's what that means. So we're going to have a negative number there. Stretched vertically by a factor of 3. Right there. And then down 4 units. So since we're not going left or right, we don't need the parentheses. We don't need them. And then down 4. So if that's confusing, look back yesterday. So if it had like a left or right, it would have been inside there, like right 1 and then down 4, right? But when you don't have a left or right, you don't need the parentheses. And this one didn't give us a left or right at all. How do we graph it? Oh yeah, we put it in our calculator. Really, really simple. Again, y equals, clear, negative 3 x to the second minus 4. Hit graph. Okay, so I know where to look for my vertex. It's like right in the middle, right? At 0. So go to my table. And there it is. 0, negative 4. Because then you can see the numbers on either side. Negative 7, negative 16, and so on. So your vertex is 0, negative 4, which made sense, right? The graph we just saw, 1, 2, 3, it was down here. It makes sense that it's opening down because this is negative. So we just use our table and pick 2 numbers. 1 and 2, okay, that looks good. So remember, we always go back to 0, 0 to graph. So that's right 1, down 7, and 2, negative 16, just leave it off. It's fine, okay? Axis of symmetry goes right through the middle, reflect over, and it's curvy. Sorry, try and hit the point. Arrows on the ends, try to make it curvy. Curvy because it's x squared. Okay? So you only have 10 to do on this side, which is just like number 9. And then 2 to practice on this side. You should all be able to finish it in class. Okay? I will put the key up. If I can find it. Dylan, come on. I just did almost all the homework with you. I let you go to the bathroom. Okay, so again, you only have to do, and I did do everything. I did everything. Remember, I said you don't have to show all of that. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
4.